What's up, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or if you're watching on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And Andrew, we're here to talk about Kerwin Walton in this edition of our UNC Basketball ISO Series. But before we dive into this one, as you've heard the spiel many times before, make sure you guys sign up for our premium access and premium content, premium message boards for just $8.33 a month on our website, TarHeelIllustrated.com. There's so much recruiting stuff that goes in there. There's so much other things during the season with the UNC football and basketball teams as well when it comes to analysis and all the other stuff that goes on our boards that you cannot get and cannot have access to unless you're signed up for just $8.33 a month. So after this video is done, click the description below. You'll see a link in there to find it and go over there and sign up. But AJ, let's dive into this one, man. Like I mentioned, here to talk about Kerwin Walton in this episode. Going to run through a couple of stats, then we'll kind of dive into them, and I'll kick it to you. 21 minutes per game last season, 20 starts as a Tar Heel. I know kind of after that December period really started to see Kerwin as a mainstay in that Carolina lineup. 8.2 points per game, 1.8 assists, and 1.7 rebounds. Shot 44.4% from the floor, and arguably his most impressive stat, 42% from three-point land, which is a UNC freshman record for somebody with over 50 attempts. I believe you were past Rashad McCants on that list as well. And, you know, Kerwin Walton was at times, some people would say Carolina's best player because he was really the only guy on this team that could consistently hit a jump shot and consistently hit a three. I mean, Carolina was a team last year that really struggled at times putting the ball in the basket, especially in terms of jump shots. Obviously, a big emphasis on getting the ball down low, but at times and during stretches and games, Carolina just couldn't put the ball in the basket from beyond three-point land. And like I mentioned, once we saw kind of Kerwin come into the lineup, you saw, okay, this guy, you know, we didn't really – I don't think a lot of people expected him to be as good as he was as a freshman, to be as consistent of a three-point option as he was, but he took advantage of his opportunity when he got it, and I think that speaks volumes for just kind of the year he had. Now, I say that as a caveat because there was games where he struggled. I think there's parts of his games that he really needs to continue to develop in terms of, you know, instead of just being a catch-and-shoot guy, which I kind of think we saw a lot last year, which was great for that team, but I think there's still a lot of development in his game that can take him to the next level as a player. But I don't think there's any doubting just how important he was to last year's teams at times, because he was really, just like I mentioned, the only guy that could, in large stretches during games, just put the ball in the basket from beyond the three-point land. And that just turned out to be hugely important for last year's team.
The most important game for him last season was the win over Kentucky in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And I was one of about 85 people in the building allowed for that game. I mean, total. Yeah. Teams, personnel, security. There were no fans. There were just limited numbers of members of the media there. And when Roy put him in, he hit, I think, 4 threes in that game. Mm-hmm. You could see the reaction from the team. I think he hit 2 in a fairly short stretch in the second half. Kentucky calls timeout. Tar Heels come to the bench, and everybody got up and greeted Kerwin Walton, the guy who was the lowest rated of the 6 incoming freshmen last year, the one that people figured, hey, might be a nice player at some point. I'm not saying that was what our opinion at THI was, but it's kind of what you heard a lot. And you saw the way the team responded to finally somebody hitting some perimeter shots. Mm-hmm. If you remember, going up to that point, the Tar Heels were horrid.
Oh, yeah.
Perimeter. Well, then he finally started the Georgia Tech game, which was not the next game. The next game was NC State, and then he started Georgia Tech and was in the starting lineup after that, except against the senior night, where he gave them just a guy that defenses had to respect out there. Mm-hmm. So that made them a little bit better offensively. I do think they were a better team after he was inserted in the starting lineup. Now, he didn't do a lot other than shoot. Yeah. He showed us at times the ability to put the ball on the floor a couple of times to take a shot. He did that against Louisville a few times, but teams started to take that away from him a little bit, and he kind of struggled. So I'm sure that using the dribble to create shots for himself will be one of many points of emphasis this offseason. But giving them that shooter was huge because they didn't really have anybody. I mean, RJ Davis may have been second on the team in three-point shooting. They're at 32%. Mm-hmm. And RJ had some barrages, but he was wildly inconsistent. Kerwin was mostly consistent. He did have a 5-game stretch, I believe, where he was 11 for 38. So if you cut out that 5-game stretch, Jacob, he was 47 for 100.
It's impressive.
So, and that 5-game stretch was late when teams were getting on him and making him use the dribble a little bit more. So when he improves that handle and he's able to not just to bounce the ball, you got to bounce the ball with a purpose. You got to make the defender move. If he can make a defender move some with the dribble, that's going to, and be able to create shots that he hits at the 16-foot, at the 14-foot, the 12-foot mark, or drive and dish to other people, guys are going to have to play off in just a pinch. And that's all he needs. Like Brady Manick, he's a catch-and-shoot guy. He's got a pretty quick release. You give him a little bit of space, he's going to get the shot off. And then that 11 for 38 stretch doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So imagine what that could be next year. I think he could be a very high-percentage shooter again, but he's going to have to evolve his game because teams will know how to defend him. But I also think he's going to be helped out by having more guys that could shoot on the floor. I think Caleb will be a better shooter. RJ will be a better shooter. Brady Manick already is a fantastic shooter. So that element out there is going to mean that Kerwin's going to have more opportunities. He's going to have less contested opportunities. You're going to have to pick your poison. I see Caleb driving or RJ driving. Defenses come in from a greater distance because it's not as congested. Little toss back out to the wing. There's Kerwin Walton wide open, quick catch and shoot guy. I could see him and them having a lot of success with that. But there are elements of his game that must improve. He's not much of a rebounder. If Carolina's going to play RJ, Caleb, and Kerwin on the floor, if he's going to be a 3 at times, he's going to have to get more rebounds. And he's going to have to be more of a rip and run type of guy. Get the board and head up court. Don't start looking for another guard because you are a guard. Yeah. Push the thing up the floor, play fast. Those are parts of his game I know he's working on right now and must improve for him to be a fuller, more complete player. And if he achieves a lot of those things, this team has a chance to be really fun and a consistently high-scoring club.
Mm-hmm. And I would say probably improve on the defensive side of the ball as well. I know at times he really struggled defensively last season. So I think that's another, big point of emphasis for him, going into next season. But would you agree? I know me personally, he's one of the players on this year's coming up in this year's team that's returning that I'm probably the most interested. I think Caleb Love's close as well up there in terms of what he can do during his sophomore season. But Kerwin's right at the top of my list of, okay, how does his game from his freshman season, how does it improve from going into his second season? Because I think he's a guy that he was so deadly from three-point range last year at times and for a majority of the season, really. And obviously has a UNC freshman record for three-point percentage. But the improvements that he can make in this offseason in terms of being more of a well-rounded player, to me, he's one of the guys I'm looking forward just to see what kind of steps his game takes. Because I think there's just a ton of potential there for him to really improve a lot.
Well, what interests me is, and this is, I think, is a legitimate question, is he a shooter or is he a player?
Yeah.
So with 58 of his 79 field goals this year were three-pointers. Mm-hmm. That needs to be more balanced because he needs to show more of his game. If he uses the dribble, he's going to get more shots inside the arc.
Absolutely.
It's okay to take shots inside the arc. I know Nate Oates doesn't agree with that in Alabama unless it's a layup or a dunk, but I think it's okay to I think if you're a guard and you could pull up and hit a 12 to 15-footer and keep a defender off balance, I think that's an amazing weapon, and 2 points are 2 points. So if you get them from 12 feet away or at the rim, 2 points are 2 points. I also think that makes Carolina better. He also needs to be a better passer. So if he's able to utilize the dribble and get in, but his defender recovers or there's help side defense, he's got to find teammates. Mm-hmm. He's got to see the floor. He's got to know where the teammates are. And I agree with you about defense. You're going to have to get after it and defend. Mm-hmm. Especially if you play a little bit small, when Carolina had success defending some guys in the perimeter this year or struggled, it was always the same storyline. At Iowa, what did Roy say? Well, the best way to keep a really good three-point shooters from hitting three-point shots isn't to defend them once they get the ball. It's to keep them from getting the ball out there. Mm-hmm. Well, they had success against Matthew Hurt. Why? They kept him from getting the ball out there. If Kerwin's going to play the three, he's going to be on some 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guys or 6'5" guys, whatever in that range, that could shoot. And they'll be able to shoot over him because Kerwin's only 6'4", so 6'5". So he's going to have to be better at keeping guys from getting the ball. So really good defense starts before the ball crosses the midcourt line, and Kerwin will have to show all those things. He'll be a weapon. He'll be an asset because he can shoot. Mm-hmm. But how much else he adds to his game, I think, remains to be seen. The expectation should be that he's at least a little bit better in all those areas. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he needs to be more than a little bit better to be a guy who's going to play 28 minutes a game for this team, but certainly that shooting ability, there is no substitute for being able to put the ball in the basket, man. That's what wins games, right? You score more points, you win the damn game. No matter, you can be the greatest denial defender in history, but if your team doesn't score enough points, you still lose.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure there was a many a times last season. I know even I thought it sometimes where I was like, thank God Kerwin Walton's out there right now, because if not, Carolina might not even get past the 50-point mark. What he was able to do from beyond the 3-point land at times, just cannot stress enough how much it benefited this teams in specific games. Because like I said, besides him, Carolina really, really struggled to shoot the ball from beyond the arc. And if you don't have a guy like him out there last season, I mean, who knows what the record would have finished like. So, yeah, a lot of things that you can still improve in his game, obviously, in terms of being an all-around basketball player. But there's no denying just how deadly he is from beyond the arc at times, and how hot he can get, and how so much of a streaky shooter he is. So, yeah, one of the guys for us, I think I speak for everybody at Tar Heel Illustrated, that we're kind of interested to see how he continues to develop throughout his career and what kind of all-around basketball player he can become. But I think it's a good place to wrap this one up, AJ. Yeah, focusing on this one is Kerwin Walton in our UNC Basketball ISO Series. Make sure you guys stay tuned for the other episodes. We'll be rolling out on some of the returning players as well. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.